Once upon a time. Once upon a time I believed in the Tooth Fairy. Once upon a time I believed in Father Christmas. And, yeah, once upon a time I believed all sorts of stories. But I grew out of the Tooth Fairy when I stopped losing my baby teeth. I stopped believing in Father Christmas. Couldn't imagine how he'd get down our chimney. And, you know, a lot of other stories that we were told when we were young. For whatever strange reason, I stopped believing in. How many of you all still believe in the Tooth Fairy? Or Father Christmas? How many of you still believe in XXX? Another fairy story. We let go of some of our fairy stories because we grow out of them or we see common sense. But some of the stories we hang on to. If you look at your life objectively, you'll see that it's nothing but stories. You've been told that this was real, that was real. We've got someone here tonight who thought they were gluten intolerant. We got someone here tonight who thinks they're a bit crazy. We have people believing in all sorts of stories here tonight. It's how civilizations evolve, I guess, by telling stories. When people stop telling the same old stories or exchange them for new stories, the old stories gradually die down. If you look at the stories of different civilizations, different empires, they come and they go. When people stop believing in them, and very often it's because someone comes along and threatens you with eternal damnation, or if you don't believe in us, or we're going to chop your head off, that you pretty soon change your mind. Unless you fancy being a martyr, of course. So old stories get replaced with new ones. But then you swap one story for another story. We've been doing that forever. You should question the stories that you still hold on to. Really question them. Don't accept them just because everybody in your neighborhood accepts the story. Don't accept it because someone tells you this is the way it is on the media. That is the last place you want to go for your information anyway. What would happen if you were to let go of all your attachment to all stories? I don't know if anybody can actually do that. If you can't let go, at least recognize that your life is a story. Imagine you're reading a book, which in most cases, the book has already been written. You're just reading your part. The more you identify with the part, the more likely you are to get an Oscar. But it doesn't help you pass through the state of death of the physical body into recognizing or remaining in the true nature of mind. It's your charge that's going to take you into the next reality. I mentioned this a while ago. A Buddhist monk was talking about what happens after death. And he said, life is like a drop of water arising from the ocean. So from oneness, it comes into separation. It identifies with separation. It has the experience of separation. But then eventually that drop returns to the ocean. It's the point when the body dies, of course. And then your awareness returns to the ocean. It didn't go into any detail. But I've got a lot of questions about that whole process. What prompted the little droplet of water to leave the ocean in the first place? To me, it's because of charge. Still very much a Buddhist concept that charge needs to be released by a living person. Once you're dead, you can't release charge. Unexpressed charge continues to exist, and that charge needs to express itself. And so to me, It's the charge that needs expressing that is the cause for the droplet to leave the ocean. If that charge has not been completely worked out, then when that droplet returns to the ocean, the charge still needs to be worked out. It will cause another drop to arise from the ocean to work the charge out. Whether that's got anything to do with you or not your personality, but your soul, if you like, assuming you've got one of those, if it's on a journey. And so it still comes back to when you're born. I think it's inevitable that you're going to be fed a line of bullshit and stories, and you're going to be told all sorts of weird stuff. And when you're young and impressionable, you've got no choice really. You just take it all seriously. You believe what you're told because the grown-ups told you. But you have to question who told the grown-ups. Someone else who didn't know what was going on as well. And so we continue the story. Most stories, especially if they're political or religious, are designed to keep you in the story. Until you reach the place of understanding, you will hang on to the story of, in our case, clearing. You will believe that clearing is real. It exists. When you get to a certain understanding, clearing falls away. It's no longer an issue. There is nothing to be done because you have reached that place of clarity. So you've grown beyond the story. And you know, it will be the same with karma. When you're no longer attached or identifying with the self, believing in that story, then the existence of karma just, well, it falls away. But if you keep hold of a story and you keep questioning, you know, why this story? Why not that story? Honestly, you're missing the point. A story can either imprison you into a belief pattern, into a certain way of being, or it can be designed to liberate you from that way of being. Once liberated, the story is no longer needed. Imagine you're crossing a desert and you come across a river and you've got a canoe and you use the canoe to cross the river, but then you carry the canoe just in case you come across another river. Or you break your leg and you use a crutch and you continue to hold on to the crutch in case you break your leg again instead of letting it go. They're all stories until they're not. So try not to attach any particular importance to a story. Recognize them for what they are. Use them, which you've been doing all of your life anyway. Use the story until it's no longer valid, until it's no longer important.